Hey friends, welcome back to the Happy Homeowner Podcast, Outdoor Edition. My name is Dan Keller, and I believe that owning a home is the largest and most valuable asset we have, second to our time. As a veteran mortgage professional, investor, and Puget Sound angler, my commitment is to bring you content each week that will fill each one of these buckets in your life. Jump on board with us today, enjoy the show, and we'll see you back in the marina. All right, hey, we're back with another outdoor edition of the Happy Homeowner Podcast with my routine guests now, yes, John Martinez and Connor Martinez with John Sporting Goods. Thanks for joining us again. We're right in the hunt. Or getting into the hunt as Coho season heats up, kind of like the housing market around here. It's like slim pickings, and I have a feeling here sooner than later, some more houses are going to show up, and the market's going to pick up a little bit more like these Coho are starting to show up in the Puget Sound. So today's all about Coho, and we're timing this perfectly because we got a couple of derbies coming up, don't we?
Yep, we have a derby next weekend, the Edmonds Coho Derby, and then September 23rd and the 24th, we have the Everett Coho Derby, the 30th anniversary, actually. So
I think I'm fishing with you on that one, right?
We're fishing both of them, I think.
Beautiful. I'll take it. Yeah.
You guys don't stand a chance because I'm going to be out there.
Oh, jeez.
Gosh. Well, you're gonna hopefully bear all today, so we'll be on an even playing field, maybe. Right. But I'm sure you'll probably hold a John's trick back for your own good. But no, this is gonna be really good today. So I know we've talked about this before, but let's recap because it is confusing this year, 2023, the different areas out there and the rules for each area.
Sure.
Right.
Well, we'll start down area 8-2. So a very popular spot is going to be from the Mukilteo Ferry down to the shipwreck. So when we're in that area, you can keep 2 salmon. Now, you're allowed 1 coho, and it can be a wild or a hatchery coho. So say you get a wild coho in 8-2, you are now not allowed to go into area 9 and fish.
John was just talking about that. That's tricky.
Yeah,
right?
you're stuck with your wild fish, and you're stuck in 8-2. Now you can get an additional pink on top of that, so you still get one more salmon, but you're done for coho for the day.
Yep, you're staying put.
Right.
Okay.
So then when you're down in area 9, when we're fishing there, you're keeping 2 coho. It's a total of 2 salmon. You can keep 2 coho, or you can keep 2 pinks, or you can keep 1 of each.
Okay.
Now the coho have to be hatchery, so the adipose fin has to be clipped on it. So if we're fishing in area 9, say you get your 1 coho, now you're staying in area 9. You can't go into 8-2 and fish for coho anymore. You can go in and catch pink, but you get an additional coho in area 9.
Because you're limited 8-2 just to 1.
That's
However,
right.
if you caught 2 hatchery coho in area 9, you could go to area 8-2 and catch 1 pink salmon.
There you go.
There you
Absolutely.
go.
So, but once you have 2 coho, you can't go somewhere else and catch more coho, like in area 8-2 or 10.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That takes us to area 10.
Yeah, so when we're down in area 10, you're going back to the 8-2 rules. You can keep 1 coho. It can be a wild or a hatchery fish, and then you get an additional pink on top of that.
Okay. Perfect.
So you have to really be cognizant of the rules. You don't want to move out of the zone you're in and accidentally start fishing when you already have a limit of a wild fish or a hatchery fish, depending on the zone you're in.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then I know we talked about this before. Let's recap this again because I was out this last weekend and we caught plenty of humpies. We did catch a couple of cohos and we also caught a couple of Chinook. Okay. So let's real quick. How do you tell the difference between a Chinook and a coho and maybe a coho and a pink? Okay.
A lot of people look at the mouths of the fish, and if you want to do that, a humpy has a white gum line, and a coho does too. What I look for as a deciding factor between pink salmon, humpies, and Chinook is humpies will have oval spots on their tail, and their tail will be kind of clearish, whitish looking, where on a Chinook, he'll have round black spots on his tail, and he'll have silver rays. The tail won't be looking clear at all. So for the novice, that's the best way to tell the difference so you don't get so you don't bring Chinook to the dock saying, hey, I've got a limit.
Yeah, I was out with some guys this weekend, and they were stoked because the Chinook was a nice sized fish, and they were high-fiving each other, and I go, not so fast, fellas.
Oh, yeah. It
And
happens.
the scales on the humpies are really small, and they have a kind of a greenish back, where the backs on the Chinook are kind of blackish looking, dark green to blackish.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to start. So let's go back to areas, because I know you guys have, and it's in the Saltwater Fishing Journal that John wrote, areas that you like to fish. But let's kind of recap. 8-2, some areas, maybe some depth. Same thing with 9 and then 10.
Yeah.
Okay, what I would start off in the beginning of the season, which is right now, is I'd start fishing around the shipwreck in either area 8-2 or 9, because that's the dividing line.
Okay.
And you can do two different things. You can troll with or against the tide, which is going to be north-south type of troll, or you can do an east-west troll. Sometimes that east-west troll from like the shipwreck out to the middle of the channel is a really good way to locate fish. And sometimes they'll be out in the middle, and sometimes they'll be closer to shore in a couple hundred feet of water. So there's two different ways to fish that. Sometimes there'll be a rip that runs from in the shipwreck area, give or take a half mile on either side of that, and that's a good way to troll in that area on either it doesn't really matter whether you're on the soft side or the more bouncy side of the rip, but troll alongside of that, not in it, because there'll be junk in it, seaweed and stuff. So do that. There's a couple different ways. You're not looking for bait there as opposed to fishing possession bar. If you're fishing possession bar, if there's no bait where you're fishing, you're not going to catch a fish unless it's a pink salmon.
Yep.
I mean, you may catch a coho. There's an exception to every rule, but the fishing's certainly going to be a lot better if there's more than a little bit of bait where you're fishing.
Okay. Okay, out of possession, we're looking for bait. And I've heard you say this before, the tide rips are your friend.
Oh,
so
yeah.
look for those, spot them, and then grab a side.
Absolutely.
And then you just troll parallel to it, yeah?
Yeah.
When I was out a couple days ago fishing possession in the area of the buoy, there was not necessarily tide rips, but there was tide lines where you can see that soft line. It has to not be blowing very much. You see that soft line through the water.
Yeah.
And those are, it's kind of like a mini tide rip. And that, I always look for those. And that, I tell you what, I put more fish in the boat looking for that type of indicator on top of the water, because there'll be bait in that line somewhere.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great tip.
Then talking about bait, it's going to decipher which side of the bar we're fishing. So say the tide's coming in, you're going to want to be on the east side of the bar. That's going to pull all that bait to the east side. And again, where there's going to be bait, there's going to be coho for sure. The tide's going out, you're going to want to fish the west side of the bar. It's going to pull that bait across the bar, and you're going to be fishing on the west side.
Perfect.
A couple times in the last few days, I fished the east side of the bar, especially 2 days ago. I went out there and the tide was going out in the morning. In that first hour, and I've been catching lots of fish, humpies and coho both. And that first hour with that tide going out, I never had a strike except for humpies. And as soon as that tide started coming in, well, I'll tell you what, it was just like somebody flipped on the light switch. And then several days ago, I never had a coho in the boat till 11 o'clock in the morning. And once again, the tide was coming in, and then I had a 6-fish limit for 3 of us in about an hour, hour and a half. So the tide really makes a lot of difference when you're on possession. You're fishing a lot of structure. Possession's a cool place to fish. You got east side, west side, and you got areas in the bar where there's corners and places that hold bait.
Yep.
Yeah. So possession's awesome area 9. Okay, let's switch to 10, because I know you've got Edmonds, you got Richmond Beach, which my son and I fished that a lot because we live there, and then you go across over to Jeff Head. So let's talk about those 3 areas and some of your favorite spots and how to fish there.
Yeah, I would say that's going to be in a week or two when Area 10's really going to start lighting up a little bit. There's guys catching coho down there right now, but I think the mass of that run's going to be probably a week or two away. But when we're down there, we like the Area 9 and 10 line. That's a phenomenal spot. You can fish east and west there, just like John was saying. You're covering a whole bunch of different depths. You're covering a lot of different water, and that can be extremely beneficial. And then being the rules the way they are, I'd probably hover on the Area 9 sides, because I can keep 2 coho instead of in Area 10 where I can only keep 1.
So you got to be careful not to cross the line
right.
when you start putting fish in the boat down there, 910. Now, down right on that line, you're fishing out to about 660 feet of water, and you're not looking for bait trolling that line at all. There's rips there most of the time, and so you'll be fishing that. It's a completely different thing than fishing possession bar. So just troll that line, and a lot of times, some of the times the fish are in closer to shore, and a lot of times they're out there just when you go from 450 to 600 feet of water. There's a break there. If you look at a contour of the bottom, there's a break there, and there's something that guides the fish right through that area.
Yeah.
So that's what I look for when I'm fishing coho, no matter where I'm at or most of the place I'm at. I'm looking for breaks on the bottom. Like down there at the weather buoy,
Absolutely.
down there a little bit south of Edmonds, there's a break there where it goes from 200 to 450, and right when you get to 450, you catch fish.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's nothing magic about 450. It's just there's something about the water currents or something. It's definitely not bait out there that you're fishing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Another great spot down there is Jeff Head.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of like, I always call it the possession bar of Area 10. It's facing east and west, so you're fishing structure, you're fishing contours on the bottom. It's going to hold bait, but again, a tide-dependent place. The tide's coming in, you're going to fish the south end of it. The tide's going out, you're going to fish up towards the north end. And there's a yellow can out there. It's a navigational buoy of some sorts, but that spot is always a really good indicator of some fish holding up there, and coho for sure.
Yeah. Hey, give us a real quick recap. What's that 910 line? Is that the ferry, Edmonds Ferry? That one you're talking about going, east, west?
Everybody thinks that's where the line is. In the rule book, there's a pole on the shore, and if you don't know, it's where people sunbathe out there or go to the beach there.
Okay.
There's a round pole on the beach there, and if you don't know where it's at, it'd be hard to locate it because it's small.
Okay.
And it goes over across to the other side to Apple Cove.
Yeah, I was going to say Apple
There's
Cove.
a marker there,
Okay.
and it's really easy to see because it's a huge marker. So it's not at the ferry. You'd be fishing.
So it's a little north of the ferry.
If you're south of the ferry.
South of the ferry.
Yeah,
oh,
if
it
you're
is
fishing-
south of the ferry.
Yes.
I was thinking it was north. Okay.
No. If you're fishing at the ferry, you're in Area 9.
Okay.
If you're fishing in front of the marina, you're in Area 9.
In Edmonds.
Yes, so it's
Really?
south of the marina.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Most people don't know where it's at because it's hard to locate.
Okay. South of. Okay. There you go. Got to know the rules.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Gotta know the
this
lines,
year, right?
absolutely.
Okay, so you picked your area, and you guys like right now 9 and 8-2, as early as we are. Let's kind of go through the 101 version of coho fishing. Speed, depths, we kind of talked about in different areas you're looking for bait, but with the current, against the current, let's give a little tutorial there.
Yeah, trolling speed is going to be picked up a little bit for these coho compared to Chinook and for humpies. We're going to be trolling 3.5 to 4 miles an hour, so you're cruising pretty good.
It starts at 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And nothing less.
Yeah. You want to be moving. I always tell people when I'm with John, we're the fastest boat when we're trolling by far and away.
Okay.
Gear, we're fishing from 45 feet to 120 feet on the downrigger.
Yep.
And John's been catching them at 130 feet as well, so you can definitely go beyond. Your fish finder's going to tell you where to fish, but that 45 to 120, that's a pretty reliable number to fish.
Okay.
As the day progresses, of course, we'll drop our gear down a little bit more. So usually 45, 50 feet in the morning on one downrigger, and I like to run one at 60.
Okay.
And then I definitely, as soon as that sun hits the water or you progress in the day, I like to have one at 100 feet, absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. And then with or against the tide?
You're always with the tide.
You like the tide,
Not unless it's a small tide where you control against it and make ground, but this week you don't have that. You have pretty astronomical tide, so you're going to be trolling with the tide.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I noticed that when I was out there a couple days ago, I was catching all my fish trolling to the north.
Okay.
Every single fish. Now, the tides weren't real strong, so I could troll both directions.
Yeah.
But once you get into this minus tide regime, as they come and go, sometimes I'll pick up my gear and just troll one direction. I have not been doing that lately, but, I might on these extreme tides.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Good. And then we already talked about searching for some tide rips, so that's really important. Now, is a difference between 8-2 and 9 in regards to depths, or is it your general rule of thumb, one at 45, one at, I know, John, you were saying you like 65, 70. Is that kind of the general rule of thumb wherever you go for coho?
Pretty much in both places. Most of your coho, almost always start the morning at 60 feet.
Okay.
And, you know, I'll bring my gear up to 35 quite often.
Okay.
But I've been doing that lately, and I just can't draw a strike that shallow, which is kind of funny because I've caught a couple of them on the surface lately.
Okay.
But, you know, and then you try to do that on purpose, and it seems to be difficult.
Yeah.
But if you do it accidentally, it seems like it happens frequently.
Yep.
Well, so now you got the fundamentals down, okay? Let's get into the fun stuff, and this is what you guys really do for a living, selling this stuff, selling the gear, the tackle. Before we do that, I have ran into numerous fishermen down at, whether it be Edmonds or Everett Marine, and we talk about our fish stories and how we did on the day, and I've talked with guys before that have struggled. They're like, how are you guys done, or how'd you do so well? And there's nothing really that stood out. They had the same gear, the same flashers, that, and then I tell them it comes down to these little things that we just talked about in the first 10 minutes. Yep. But the number one thing, anytime someone's struggling with coho, is they didn't have a herring strip on there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I learned it from birth, right? When I went out fishing for the first time, you throw a herring strip on there with a squid or an ace. So let's talk about the importance of that, how to do it real quick. And then, by the way, you've got a great video on it, John. The link to that video on the preparation and how to cut it and all that will be in the description here. But let's talk real briefly about cutting your herring strips and preparing those.
All right, simple fillet, slice and dice herring strip. Come right behind the gill plate here. I just basically cut down. You don't want to go too far. Slide right along the backbone. Watch your fingers, obviously. Off it comes. Flip it over. Same thing. Guts over. Well, I usually pull any guts, cut the tail off, slice the bottom of the belly off. Personal preference. I can already hear people turning in their grave over that. But full strip. Half again. Same thing on this side. I trim the belly just a little bit. And you can save those belly strips if you want. Personally, I just don't use them that much. I like to have a little meat on there, kind of the whole purpose of this. Half. So some incidents, I like them even thinner than this. So I'll take these heavier strips, strip them down even more. Strip them down even more. It don't take a lot. The whole point of this is not to have a bunch of meat there. It's to have the tail there.
I'm going to come in behind you.
And then again, basically, you just got a bunch of rock salt, old ones, new ones, whatever. Throw them in the salt. If you've got a whole pile of brand new freshies, I'll throw them in the fridge. Ask your wife's permission first. Throw the lid on them. What do we do with the lid, guys?
Probably underneath.
Throw the lid on them, and then every 2 or 3 hours, just come in, give it a little shake. I like to just flip them and rotate it over. You shake it too much, all the strips will work their way up to the top.
Okay, you give us a quick tip earlier. Do it when they're slightly frozen, and don't refrigerate them immediately. Let them sit in the rock salt.
Yep. Let them sit in the rock salt a little bit before you put them in the fridge. It just seems to resonate a little bit better, get them fully thawed out, and let some of that salt soak in. Don't put any oils on them, powders only. Oils will cause the herring to go soft again. Again, I add a little Monster Bite, bloody tuna powder, garlic Monster Bite, any sulfites, nitrates, anything like that you like to add to your baits. That'll help, get these fish snappy.
Well, you can take your herring and fillet it out. A 6-inch herring is ideal.
Okay.
And that one fillet, and then you can cut it down the middle, so you have 2 long strips.
Okay.
And you, if the herring are a little bit on the big side, you can cut those strips in half.
Okay.
Again, so you can either get 4 or 8 pieces of herring meat off one fillet. Lately, I've been using some smaller pieces.
Okay.
And from the long strips to small pieces, you know what? I don't think it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, once it falls off the hook, let's say you get a strike, and you think you're just going to leave it down there until another fish comes along, you're wasting your time.
There you go.
Because you'll catch a fish eventually, but it'll take quite a while before you get another strike without a herring strip on there.
That's been my general consensus with guys at the dock, back at the dock. They just weren't using them. So we'll put the link in the description below to that video that you made, using a little bit. I mean, it's real simple. You flay them out, throw them in a Ziploc bag with some rock salt.
That's right.
For
Lots of rock salt.
Lots of rock salt for 24 hours, 12 hours, and you're good to go, huh?
And don't refrigerate them during that time. Leave them out in the garage, just on the table or wherever you put stuff in your
As they cure for the
'cause
first 24.
They won't cure very good in the refrigerator.
There you go.
And you're basically you're curing it, so you don't really care about keeping the stuff cold.
Cool.
The salt will cure it, and it'll stay good. And then your herring strip, you can refrigerate them. When you come home that day, if you're going to fish the next day, they're usually good for about 3 days before they get really stinky. You get to the point where they're stinky where you don't want to use them. No, I think they're still effective.
Yes, they are. Okay, and then again, we're going to assume that you don't know, but you got your herring strip. You have your 2 hooks set up, whether you're using an ace or a squid. Which hook do you put the herring strip on?
You're gonna pull this out of the squid, and you're gonna put your herring strip on there.
Yep.
And then when you're gonna put this back down, you're gonna make sure that when that squid slides down there, all these little tentacles of the squid are laying around that. You don't want them all tucked up inside because you're too big a hurry.
And these are some tips, you guys. These are little tips that go a long way for putting fish in your boat. Just like the length of that second hook, and it's right down below that skirt. It's something I learned. I started off as a young fisherman thinking I got to hide that hook, and then John told me a month or two ago, he goes, "You think a fish knows what a hook is?"
Yeah. They don't care.
Connor got me with these long hooks.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, the amount of hookups that they get with that hook exposed beyond the it is enormously different than that hook being
buried.
I mean, there's not even any comparison between having that hook to the end of the squid. And I did it that way for years.
Yeah.
And on Coho, the old rule of thumb is you have to hook 3 to get 1. But once you start tying these hooks longer, you're pretty much bringing everything to the boat. They still come off. Now, I'll tell you a trick, though. Once you get your Coho close to the boat, you know how they go crazy? I fish for Coho on a tight drag. Once they get within 10 or 15 feet of the boat, bring them to the boat.
Drag them to the boat.
Just drag them in.
Yeah.
Drag them
Okay.
right in. There's no letting them flop around, especially by the boat.
Yep.
It's drag them over there and net them immediately.
Okay.
Well, let's get back to the setup.
Yep.
Now, remember on the last video that we made, we talked about it's the sum of the totals of the parts of the tackle.
Yep.
It's not one individual. You can't take one thing out of this setup and think you're there.
Yep.
We're halfway there because you're not.
Yeah.
It's simple to catch these coho if you follow some of the advice. Now, there's lots of things that work. So we're presenting a way to fish that's known to be effective. If something else was better, I'd tell you about it.
Yep.
Connor, if there was a whole bunch of things that work better, Connor would be glad to sell it to you.
That's right.
This setup we got in front of you is what I would use 100% of the time.
Yep.
I think the only thing that's changed over the years is this blinky.
That's
Troll
right.
flash
Right?
with
That's
a
it.
blinking light.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when that light starts not blinking, go to the store and buy a new one. Makes a lot of difference.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So let's start with the basics, like you said: leader, hooks.
30-pound leader.
Okay.
Always.
This front hook is 5/0.
Okay.
This back hook is a 4/0, and they're owner hooks. And these are really, really sharp.
Okay.
See that? 2 6-millimeter beads.
Yep.
One pink, one glow bead. They both glow, actually.
Okay.
In between the hooks, a little bit extra attraction.
Okay.
And then there's an ace-high fly as an insert inside this squid.
Okay.
It's number 312.
Connor, grab that bag of squids right there. So that's what you've got. So that is your.
This is the OAL 12R. It's a 3.5-inch squid.
Okay.
This is the tried and true. This thing has caught in lots and lots of coho. That's why we recommend it.
And don't put any herring oil in here because you're going to have your herring strip on there.
Okay.
Especially with these white squids because the herring oil ruins the squids, turns them brown.
Yep.
Okay.
The other one, I'll tell you, there's two. They're going to be feeding on herring and they're going to feed on krill.
Okay.
So you can see John has a pink bead in here.
Yep.
He's trying to resemble some sort of krill. Orange beads work excellent for it too.
Okay.
Those are the two major colors that I'm going to recommend to you. It's going to be a white presentation. OAL 12R is great. This Ace High Fly 200 is a great color. And then I always have, they call this one the scrambled eggs.
Yep.
And this is just a krill overload. It's got orange spatter on it. I've been out where this is the only thing that catches fish all day, So when I'm fishing, I have one of each on all the time. Now, say the white presentation's working better, I'm going to switch over to that. Say the orange one's working better, I'm going to switch over to that. But if you put either one of these colors on, you're gonna run into some coho.
Okay, and then you've got on that one, it looks like you've got a glow skirt.
Yep.
Underneath that. So, and on this one, John, it looks like you were just both UV, correct?
Yeah, the UV's underneath
Yep.
there. Now this squid is UV also.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
I see that over
UV
there.
ultra. It's just a UV overload. Now this one is a glow squid. Actually, it doesn't look like it, but this thing glows in the dark. So what I did, I always contrast. If I have a glow squid, I'm going to put UV underneath of it. If I have a UV squid, I'm going to put glow under it, or go back to the tried and true, all UV.
All UV.
Yep.
Okay. And then I see on yours, it looks like you got 3 beads. On John's, he's got 2. It doesn't matter.
I'm
It's
just
filling up some space.
I'm filling in the space between my
Yep.
hooks. It's going to protect that back hook.
Yep.
If you're a coho fisherman, you already know if you're running a double hook rig, the hook that's going to break off is going to be your back hook. And that's just from their teeth rubbing on in between these 2 hooks. So, 2 beads, 3 beads, it's just going to protect my leader.
And if you're fishing Area 9, you're going to be releasing quite a few
Yep.
wild coho, unclipped actually,
Yeah.
coho. Sometimes, the last few days, some days, we're getting limits and only catching 1 or 2 wild fish. And then the last day I fished, it was 50-50.
Yeah, I think the one big takeaway that I just learned over the last few years is that trailing hook and how it just sticks out. So how you would go about tying that up if you don't know, before you tie the second hook down, just measure it out. Just set
You
your
want to
hoochie
do
right
you want to
there.
do 2 fingers between it, 2 finger length between your hooks, between the round and the eye of your second hook. That's about what you're looking for, and that's
Perfect.
going to put you in a good spot.
That's it.
And if it's too long, that's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Too
Yeah.
short, not good.
That's it.
Yeah.
So err on longer than shorter.
And you figure out these subtleties over the years. I mean, you're learning stuff about the different types of salmon fishing all the time. And the tackle has improved quite a bit in the last 10 years too.
Yep.
Last 20 years, just enormously better tackle than when I started fishing.
Well, a tip you gave me this last year that I think has helped out a ton too, when fishing spoons, which we're not really going to do that for coho, although I did that this weekend to keep the humpies off and it worked. But change the hook often. Okay. The other thing is, I know you've got some leader over there. You want to grab that orange one? Let's talk about that, because going with that clear.
Yeah, fluorocarbon leader.
Fluorocarbon. It was a game change. Just switching that out from.
Have to use fluorocarbon.
Yep. That's
harder,
a big
harder
tip.
to see in the water,
Yep.
and it's a stiffer leader too. So, like running this stuff, we're using our leader length and our flasher to get our action on our lure. So a stiffer leader is going to help benefit that. This is another great one, the CFX P line, 30-pound fluorocarbon, great leader.
So we've got 30-pound fluorocarbon. Let's talk length,
Yeah.
okay? Because I know that's important.
Yeah.
Chinook, you go longer. Coho, you go shorter. But how long are your leaders?
This one here, from this black swivel to the end hook, is 36 inches.
Okay.
A lot of people use quite a bit shorter leader.
Okay.
I've been really successful with this over the years, so I just stick to it.
Okay.
It works quite well. But your leaders can get down to 30 inches and be very, very effective. A lot of people, I know some charter boat fishermen friends, and they use 24-inch leaders.
Yeah.
And they catch a lot of fish. So everybody does it a little bit different. Once you start going 3 miles an hour, this stuff's whipping around back there. So you can have a wide variety of leader lengths.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We're trolling 3 to 4 miles an hour, so we can get away with a 36-inch leader. Now, say you're trolling 2 to 2.5, a shorter leader is going to benefit you, because then you're going to get more action out of your squid.
Now, something I also picked up from a good friend of ours, Ben Rosenbach, when we were out fishing with him last year, he likes to shorten the clip. So your downrigger clip to your leader above your flasher. What are your thoughts on that, John? Lengthwise, what do you guys like to run?
I'm usually letting it out 25 feet, just like when I'm fishing Chinook.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to make too much difference.
Okay.
But the longer you let this out behind your downrigger, the larger, what would you call it, the diameter circle. So the closer it gets to the downrigger clip, the shorter rotation in a circle. The way these flashers rotate. So if it works, it works. And a lot of people who catch fish do it slightly different, but.
You've learned the fundamentals today. That's just a matter of fine tuning, fine tuning some things, making it your own, customizing it.
Yep.
I know there's a ton of other gear you guys have down there. There's a ton of other gear that guys use for coho. Are we missing anything? This is just your guys, is the tried and true. It's worked for years.
Yeah. This is
if you're just getting a start, or let's say you're not confident in what you're doing,
put this on.
Put this on. Now remember, there's times of the day when the fish aren't biting, and that's the worst time to start changing your tackle. Because when the bite comes on, remember I was out a few days ago where I never had a fish in the boat till 11 o'clock. I could have been changing all this stuff out thinking, well, I'm the worst fisherman out here. I thought I was pretty good at this, but apparently I wasn't. You need to have the best gear on all the time. There's no substitute for having stuff out there that's been proven, been a proven winner over a long period of time.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've become a better fisherman just by having you on my podcast, because I did the same thing this last couple weeks ago down in Elliott Bay. We started off, we got there, boom, hit a fish right away on that skinny G spoon I was telling you about, right? And then went 3 hours with nothing, and then you start doing the whole paralysis by analysis and overanalyzing everything, and I was like, nope. John said, just let her ride, and I let her ride, and the bite turned, and we were done literally in minutes.
And that's a good point, because when the bite comes on, you want to have the best gear available at that time. You don't want the second and third choice.
Right.
There's nothing worse than fishing with the second and third choice. I mean, that doesn't work for almost everything.
Yeah, amen to that. All right, lastly, we're out there trolling. How often are you checking your gear if you're not getting hit? Because you made a great point. If that herring strip, if you got bit and it falls off, you're not really fishing as effectively as you could be. How often do you check if you're not getting hit?
Every 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you're not getting a hit in 5 or 10 minutes, bring it in immediately, because there's quite a few in the possession bar area. There's quite a few shakers at around 6 inches, and if you're not looking right at your rod, it shakes it for about 3 seconds, and then you don't notice it's on there. There's quite a few fish out there, even coho and pink salmon right now. Quite a few coho actually, and so. You've got to be checking it all the time, because you're getting bites.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, you'll go through a 2 or 3 hour period where something's rattling your rod pretty frequently. And if not, you better bring it up and take a look. Either the herring stripper's gone or you have a shaker on there.
There you go.
You haven't detected.
And you will do that. Yeah, you'll
fishing around tide rips. There's a lot of junk nearby, so you could have some sort of grass on your lure. You just want to be vigilant about checking it.
Yep.
And and it gets to be tedious over a long period of time, but that's the difference between the guys who catch a lot of fish and the guys who go out occasionally and get a fish every once in a while. If you're really checking your gear, you have the right presentation, you're gonna go from being a so-so fisherman to really a pretty good fisherman right away. And you can do that in a pretty short period of time.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
But you have to work your gear.
You got to work your gear. You got to watch this. You got to learn this info. Okay, I got 2 bonus questions for you guys from your customers and some of your viewers on social media. Number 1, John, if you were to go out tomorrow, where are you going for coho?
Tide's going to be going out in the morning right now. I would fish. I tell you what, the next time I go out, which is going to be in about 2 days, I'm going to fish the west side of the bar for half hour, 45 minutes. Nobody's been over there.
Okay.
Tide's going to be, if there's a lot of bait over there, I'll spend a little bit of time over on that side of the bar. But as soon as the tide starts coming in, I'm going to be right on the east side of the bar, closer to the buoy. And anywhere from Possession Point out to the buoy and a little further to the south, it has been really good this year.
Okay.
And the fish are in different places every single year. Coho are not dependable as far as where they're at, like Chinook.
Yeah.
Every year you go fish the same places for Chinook, and you do pretty well. If you tried that same method for coho, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Last year there was no fish on the east side of Possession Bar. The fish were down by the shipwreck and they were down at Edmonds, and it all has to do with bait. You just if you're fishing the Possession Bar area, just start looking for bait, and once you find bait, I was catching a bunch of fish on Sunday. I mean, we were doing pretty good. The boats would come in there, and then they'd leave. They'd come in there, and they'd leave. I was looking for bait, and I wasn't going very far at all. And we caught quite a few fish. I fished 3 days in the last 7 days, and I did the same thing every day. One day they were in 70 to 90 feet of water. One of the days they were in 130 feet of water, but down 60 feet.
Yeah.
They that bait just kind of roams around in there, and you have to stay on top of it. Once you find the bait, when I was fishing on Sunday, I was fishing with a couple of friends of mine, and I would see these big pods of bait show up, and I'd say, "Get ready, go stand by your rod," kind of joking.
Yeah.
But I knew they were going to get a bite, and you'd get a bite immediately.
Wow. Yeah.
It's that it's that predictable.
Yeah. Okay, so John's going to Possession Bar. Where are you going if you go out tomorrow?
Gosh, I mean, hearing reports from John, that's definitely high on my radar too. I might try the south end of Possession Bar, and maybe a little different location in the morning.
Yep.
I think we're fishing Thursday, so that looks like a pretty intriguing spot. But yeah, when the tide flips, we're going to definitely take a peek on the east side of the bar
Love
and
it.
fish there.
Cool. One last question. You catch a coho. How do you like to prepare your coho?
Coho is my favorite fish to eat.
Is
If I
it?
could fill my freezer with coho, that's what I'm going to do.
Go ahead.
I barbecue mine.
Yeah.
I like dill, I like lemon, butter, and garlic.
Love it.
I just barbecue it.
I like putting Montreal steak seasoning on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and then coat it with mayonnaise.
Oh yeah.
High cholesterol. oh baby.
But it's good.
The more cholesterol you put on there, the better it
I
tastes.
love it.
I've been eating a lot of salmon, especially this week.
Yeah.
And it is so good. Now your average coho on a 350 to 400 degree grill is going to get done in anywhere from 15 to about 18 minutes.
Okay.
A bigger coho might take 20,
Okay.
where a Chinook takes 25 or 30 minutes.
Okay. And are you wrapping that in foil, or are you
yeah.
just open? You're going to wrap it in foil?
I do the foil boat
Okay.
on all
Yep.
of it. Holds in the moisture.
Yep.
I
Okay.
just do a boat with
Okay.
olive oil on it, no
Yep.
cover.
Okay. Oh, no cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. I watch for the mayonnaise to get a really brown
Okay.
look to it, and then I know it's done.
Gosh,
But
I'm
they're
hungry.
pretty predictable, 15 to 18 minutes and it's done.
I'm ready for
The
lunch
worst
now.
thing you can do with salmon is to overcook
Okay.
it. You just turn it to sawdust.
So about 15 to 18 minutes, 350 to 400
Yeah.
should be good to go.
And if you check it and it's just a hair reddish in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
once you take that off, and by the time you get it to the, salmon cooks so fast,
Mm-hmm.
it continues to cook after you take it off the grill. It'll be perfect by the time you eat it.
Yep.
And put it on salad's a good thing too.
Yeah.
I like doing that.
Oh yeah, black and coho salad, Caesar. Oh yeah, that's
Gosh,
good.
That's really, really good.
So I just told you guys, just by hanging out with these guys, I've become a better fisherman over the last 6 months to a year. Another reason why is I pop by John's a lot. I've been doing that over the last 3 or 4 years. So I want to encourage you guys right down there on Broadway in Everett. Pop in there. I mean, I come in there all the time. I see Connor, Malachi, the crew. You guys are so just willing to give. And you got, like you said, when we talked before, you got what, 4, 5, 6 employees down there. Someone's always out somewhere fishing. And then you've got John out there. You're always getting reports. So head in there, get stocked up with what you need on your gear. The other thing I just want to give a big shout out to you guys. I've had a couple of reel issues on my fishing reels over the last year, and I come in there and you guys have a resource to help repair those. Nothing. I mean, I thought one was toast, and you guys repaired that. And then just the other day, the butt of my fishing rod, got loose.
Yep.
And you guys have a stud down there that fixes those. So anything you guys need fishing related, give these guys a holler.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a really good tip on taking care of your tackle. First of all, wash it off with fresh water when you're done.
Yep.
Spray it off. But on your salmon reels, loosen the drag 100% between fishing trips, and that's what will give you that smooth, silky drag between fishing trips. If you leave the drag on full, and then that's what makes that drag get that really jerky feel.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you guys sold me the new, is it the Pro Light?
Oh yeah.
Which, do you remember what model that is for
Nine-
my son's birthday?
It's a 9.5 foot, 12 to 30 pound pro light.
I'll tell you what, I am impressed with the Dakota 400.
Yep.
Hudson is in heaven. He's caught Chinook on it. He went out this weekend and caught his coho, and I'm stealing that rod from you. That's a great rod.
Oh, yeah.
So you need any gear, you guys head in there. Hey, they are just so great down there. I hope this was valuable. I hope we get to see you out on the water. When we post this, share your results and share your questions in the comments. And I'm sure we'll get you guys back in here soon. But we've got 2 derbies coming up.
Yep.
again, Edmonds on
I think it's the 9th.
the 9th.
Yep.
Yeah, look it up. We got the Edmonds Derby. We got the Everett one at the end of September. And both of those are going to be fun. Come out, support your local business.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys out there on the water. All right? Bye for now.